Today we're joined by Hassan, the founder of Bright Leads Media, one of the leading SEO agencies out there. And today we talked about how to double your brand's traffic with SEO, how he started speaking in the affiliate world and the results of that, and how he has stayed consistent in the business world for over 8 years now. So let's get right into the episode. Meet Hassan, a public speaker, SEO expert, and the founder of one of the leading SEO agencies, Bright Leads Media. Welcome, Hassan.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes. So maybe let's start the episode where we start our episodes usually. With all of our guests, we first like to get you know a bit more. So maybe let's start where everything started. Guide us through your journey in business. How did you get into business? Why did you get into business? And why ultimately SEO?
Okay, so I've been in the business for a really long time. Actually, I started dabbling when I was a student back in 2002, 2003. I haven't been making any money back then, but around 2005, I started making websites. Building AdSense websites and putting ads on them, driving traffic from Google and other sources. I got my first AdSense paycheck in early 2006. So that was like a big deal. So that's I was 22 years old when I got my first paycheck from Google. So it was early on in the whole industry. Then I went to school in the US for a few years. And during those years is when I was able to open a PayPal account to, do some business, do some affiliate marketing. And I went back to Morocco where I live right now. I sort of just kept doing the online business, the make money online gig just by the side. It was basically just a side hustle because I got married early a little bit. And I had responsibilities early on in my life. So I couldn't really, because it wasn't consistent in terms of income, what I was doing. So I had to get a job. So I was working different jobs here and there, and I never stopped working online and building websites. I never really stopped. And I kept learning and getting better at SEO specifically because back then that was the only thing. It was either being good at Google Ads or Facebook ads that started in 2007, but not everybody kind of used it. And then SEO. Everybody who was working online was doing SEO at some point in their lives. Anybody who started before 2010, if they ask them, that's what they were doing. Fast forward to 2013, I started working on email marketing. I started doing email. I started making a lot of money using that as well. And that's when I went full time. So combined email and SEO. I was doing a little bit of freelance as well because I wanted to kind of challenge myself to work on clients and not just on my own websites. That's what led me to create the agency in late 2016, early 2017. Which I called Bright Leads Media, and I sort of just didn't really go full on with it and started taking clients until later on. But it was just a challenge for me. Because I already had websites, already was making money through AdSense and affiliate marketing, and doing email as well. So I was leading a decent life by myself, but then it got a little bit lonely. So I was I kind of wanted to challenge myself and build a team. And actually a team. And at some point when I saw that I have a team, I'm already paying them. Why not take on client work? So when I did that, then that's how the agency started getting big. So yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Okay, interesting. So it's been a pretty long journey. You have seen the marketing landscape change over the last 2 decades or so. And also basically, correct me if I'm wrong, basically first started working more like a freelancer, your own project, and then you slowly transitioned a more of agency model, taking more clients and working on other people's accounts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what were the biggest challenges across this journey? Was it maybe the changing marketing landscape? Was it maybe staying motivated, having to keep on learning new stuff at SEO? Or what was the biggest challenge across all of these years?
Well, the challenge was being by myself. I guess it was, as I said, it was lonely, just working, from sometimes from home, sometimes from coffee places, sometimes from co-working places. I was working by myself before co-working places were a thing still. So you can imagine how challenged that was. And I kind of like missed that camaraderie and like having people working with you in a team, because I had jobs before and all that. And I kind of like missed that. So I was like, might as well just, build a team and see where that leads. And yeah, so there's a lot of challenges, but I like to grow. I kept the agency small on purpose for a while, but then we hit a plateau in revenue, and then we decided to just keep growing. So the challenge right now, or at least over the last 2 or 3 years, was the growth. Going from 5 team members to 15 team members to 25 to 30, and kind of managing everything by yourself. Somebody who hasn't gotten like an official or a traditional business education, in somebody who doesn't really know how to manage operations for like a small business with like a certain number of employees. You don't know anything about HR. You don't know anything about finances. So it's those challenges that kind of like, those are the ones that I like to have, because I'm kind of clueless about them. So I'd like to learn and kind of apply those things. When it comes to business, to getting clients, and going from getting clients as a freelancer to getting clients as an agency, that was never really a problem for me, because you always see, that's the beauty of the internet. There's always information out there available that's shared for free. Sometimes you have to pay for it, obviously, but it's just out there. I know if I wanted to do something specific as to how to market or grow the business in a certain way, the information is out there. I just go out there, take it, and apply it, make mistakes, and then kind of tweak that specific strategy. Like if we talk about cold email, I started doing cold email in like 2016 to start getting some clients. It didn't work for a few months, and then I had to work on improving my messaging, the way I like, what kind of tools I use, and those are the things that as you grow, you kind of learn, and especially because when you start in an agency, it's really hard. Like you're only one person, right? And then you're 2 people, you're 3 people, you're 4 people. So your workload kind of changes from doing 2 things. You're looking for clients, and then you're delivering the work, to doing the work, delivering the work. Looking for clients, managing a team. So your day to day kind of changes all the time. So those are the challenges, and I call them challenges, but they're something I love doing. If you're in the business, you just love doing it. You see the effects right away.
Of course, like all entrepreneurs are problem solvers. If you don't like solving problems, you're probably not a good entrepreneur. Amazing. Yeah, good to also see that you have also gone through the same traditional agency life cycle, first starting off as like a glorified freelancer into growing your own team, and then becoming more so acquiring clients and so on. Speaking maybe doing about different things and jumping to new ventures. What's also interesting about you, you have spoken or have had to speak at the affiliate role. So how did you get into public speaking? Why public speaking, and how has that worked out for you?
Yeah, one aspect that I didn't mention is I love public speaking. Like going back to college or university back here in college in the US, I was very shy. I had issues like speaking in public. And this is just in front of like a classroom of like 100 people, 50 people, whatever. So my first ever job when I went back to Morocco was to deliver presentations all around the country about specific subject, which was like helping people go study in the US. So this is like right out of college. So my first ever gig as as an employee was to go to a specific university in a town kind of far, like 6 hours away, and it was in front of 1,000 people, and I was like, whoa. But then I kind of delivered it without any issues. People kind of loved it, and I kind of got hooked. From that moment, I got hooked to public speaking, or speaking about like being able to communicate, being able to explain complicated things, and so I liked it. This is like from back in 2008, 2009, so it's a long time ago. I kept changing jobs, then I went full time to the agency, and when working by myself for a while. And what happened was I missed that human connection. I miss those, like those, putting myself on stage and talking in public. So one time I literally just invited myself out of the blue to an event that was happening in Casablanca. There was a guy that I knew, who was a friend of mine through Facebook. He was coming to Morocco to speak, and everybody was very excited about it. We're talking about maybe 1,500 or 1,200 people that attended that event. And I just went to the guy who was organizing it. I told him, hey, can I just, because it was a whole day of events. It's like a workshop and everything. It's like, can I break it up just by doing a small speech in between for like 20 minutes? And literally nobody knew who I was. I just stood up, and this is like, it was back in 2016. And that's how I kind of like started to introduce myself to the community here in Morocco. And that went well. That I didn't really have an issue with it. And then I started kind of looking for opportunities. And if I was based in Europe, for instance, or I was based in North America, it wouldn't have been a problem. I would have found a lot of opportunities to speak. So what I did, I just started emailing whatever events that were happening around, at least in Morocco or at least in Egypt or Dubai or whatever. And everybody was always looking for somebody, so like subject matter experts, SEO, email. I don't know, people who do like paid traffic, media buyers and whatnot. So I was like, okay, so I do SEO. There's a lot of stuff that I can teach or talk about in your event. So people just started accepting those invitations. And and that's kind of how it led to it. Specifically with Affiliate World, I literally just emailed them. I was like, hey, I want to speak. And I emailed them one time. I remember like emailing them like 2 months before the event. I was like, yeah, it's too late. And they kind of like told me you could probably do the next one. And I already had a little bit of experience. So, and the other thing was the personal brand, giving out a lot of content, especially on sort of like Facebook and YouTube. I started doing it in Arabic at first, and then I moved to do it in English. And that helped a lot because I've always already given out a lot of value, a lot of free courses and stuff, and that helped build kind of like an image around. When you say Hassan, you automatically connect Hassan to SEO or at least email. So it helps a lot. So everybody who knows who I am knows that I do SEO or knows that I have this agency and that I can help. And I continue doing this every now and then here and there. I'm not as active as I used to be, but it helped. The fact that I was invited to speak at events in Morocco because I was already somewhat known. And when I applied to like events internationally, they asked, "Oh, do you have experience?" So I just link a few YouTube videos of me speaking in front of like 1,000 people, a few thousand people, and they're like, "Yeah, you should be good." And then that kind of just started building up. But the basis of it was the content that I was putting out and the personal brand that I was building. It was a lot easier, obviously, like 5-6 years ago, but it does help a lot.
Yeah. For you, how big was Affiliate World when you reached out to them?
It's 2019. It was pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 3,500, 4,000 people. The Barcelona, Bangkok stuff, but it was it's still pretty big.
Yeah. It's not like it's in its like complete infancy days. That's pretty cool.
Nice. It's also interesting the fact that you reach out to these events. I always thought it's the other way around. Maybe for the most of these speakers, it is the other way around. But if it just shows, if you show initiative in most cases in life, you'll get what you want, which is good. And also the fact you mentioned like personal brand is also creates like a nice flywheel effect for you. The more public speaking events you do, the bigger your brand gets, the more easier you get more speaking events, which is also good. But yeah, then in terms of like public speaking events and so on, like what are the benefits to you, to your business? Is this like a good way for you to acquire new leads, or like how do you view public speaking? Do you just do it just for the sake of it, just for fun, or is there also like a bigger incentive for you when you do these kind of events?
Well, at first it started as a fun project, just something fun to do, right? Because I didn't really need to, because I was, doing my own thing, running my own websites. But since I kind of gotten bigger into running the agency and I wanted to grow, it definitely helps, and it helps a lot. Specifically over the last 3 years, I started doing AdWorld, which is the online version of the Affiliate World. I'd done 2 of those, and those brought a lot of leads. And you can imagine how qualified those leads are, because again, they sit down and watch your speech, especially if it's an online version, more so of a traditional speech as well. Just like the last Affiliate World and Geek Out events that I've done, I have been able to pull in at least 25K per month and in additional revenue just from those 2 events. And I didn't really have to pay for, anything, to sponsor anybody or anything, just because I was out there giving value, and I was not salesy at all. It was just like, hey, this is something that we can help, explaining the process of how you work, things like that. But again, it's very helpful, being able to speak. But then again, I don't want it to be the only kind of lead generation method, again, because if you kind of treat it that way, then it becomes a little bit more stressful, and you tie it with numbers, and you have to hit the certain objective and blah blah blah. So it becomes a little bit more of a chore than an actual fun thing that you can do. But it's a lot of fun, obviously.
Of course, amazing, great. I think that this might also serve as a good segue to the next topic I wanted to talk about, SEO. Before we dive into the fun stuff and everything, maybe we can talk about a quick bird's eye overview of SEO, what it is, what does it do. Obviously, I think most of our listeners will know, but just for the few ones that don't know, what is SEO? How is it helpful? Who needs it?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, SEO stands for search engine optimization. It means, optimizing your website, store, whatever it is that you have, to be able to bring targeted traffic from search engines, whether it be Google or Bing or any other search engine. It, goes into a lot of people, when they say SEO, they think they have an idea or preconceived notion about SEO, which is it's technical, it takes a lot of time, and it's something that we might not need in our business, specifically after what people spending money on Google ads and TikTok ads and Facebook ads and all that, and they're already running their business without having to rely on it. In a lot of ways, almost every business needs SEO, needs a certain presence, whether you're a local restaurant, whether you have a big medical brand, whatever it is that you have, a school, anything that it is that you run, you do need search engine traffic. You need traffic from Google and other search engines. The idea that people who might not need it would be some very, very small numbers, or a small type of businesses. For example, and this is something I brought up in my last Geek Out, you don't need to focus on SEO or work on it or invest in it if you have a one product store. If your store is only in one product and you don't have as many pages, around that specific product, and it doesn't require a lot of content to explain, then you don't really need to focus on an SEO. You can probably just better spend your money on paid traffic, Google ads, or anything like that. And obviously, you can focus on email marketing.
Why is that? Sorry to interrupt. Why is that? Is that because you're not going to be able to rank, or is that because you will just it's just you'll already be ranking, for example?
Yeah. So the thing is, Google is or at least search engines play by the numbers. It's a numbers game. So the more pages you have, the more chances you have of ranking for specific keywords. So let's say you have a SaaS business, software as a service. So basically, it's technically a one product store if you have a SaaS business, right? But again, whatever it is that you sell revolves around a problem or an issue that people have. We can take the example of, let's say, Trello or Basecamp. So Basecamp is a project management tool. So it's one product. They have a website that's only one product, right? But the product solves a lot of issues, a lot of product management, communication with the team. So there's a lot of content that they can put up on their website, on the blog side or on the product pages side. They can explain what issues that they solve, and they can target specific keywords that people are looking for, who are looking to solve those problems. So for SaaS, that usually isn't really a problem, because there's a lot of content that can go around your product. But let's say you sell a shoe, like one type of shoe, for instance, for example, one type of shoe. It could be medical. It could be just like a fad, like Crocs, for instance. I don't know if you have Crocs, like a product. You have a store that only sells like one type of Crocs. Maybe you have different colors, but otherwise, that's all you have. You have like one SKU, one single product. Your inventory is basically just look the same. That would be very hard to optimize for the search engines because there's really nothing to talk about other than the fact that it's a shoe, right? Or sandals or whatever you want to call them. So the number of people who are going to be looking for that specific product are limited by the number of words that they can use. They can, like you use sandal or shoe or whatever. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You have to build awareness through paid traffic to that specific store. You can't really build a blog and talk about how amazing our shoe is, or you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. But if you have the other side of the debate is if you have a huge catalog of like thousands of SKUs, then you can actually work around optimizing each and every product page for a specific keyword. And then you can also add a blog to it and make that like appear again, like in as many keywords as possible, because now you literally have more ground to cover, more product pages, more content pages. And that's going to help you catch a lot more people in their act of like researching that product, the products that you sell. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
If you need help auditing or improving your current email or SMS marketing setup, schedule a call and let's see if and how we can help. Go to agencygr.com/call and book a call with us. That's agencyj as in Jacob, R as in Rainis.com/call, and let's talk and see if we can help.
Like I had like a very specific SEO question, which just randomly came to my mind. You did kind of touch upon it, but basically want to bring it back on. So SEO, I have always linked it with Google search engines. So basically, they do these same SEO principles also apply to other search engines like Bing, DuckDuck, Ecosi, and like all of those smaller ones, or is it different?
Okay. The thing is, because again, I think Google has a little more than 90% of the market share of people who search. If you optimize your pages for Google, then automatically, in a lot of ways, you don't really need to make that much effort to optimize for other search engines. So whatever work that you do for Google is in 90% of the time, you're going to end up getting traffic from Bing and other search engines. That's what we see a lot of, like at least on our websites and our clients' websites, is when we have a website that's high performing, does really well, gets like thousands of visits a day. When you go into analytics, you always see that it's bringing in 90% of the traffic from Google, and that extra 10% is coming from like different search engines.
Okay, interesting. And then we just talked about like what's like the no-go scenario for SEO, but what on the opposite, like what would be like the perfect, most amazing scenario for SEO, like generally across like all verticals, and then maybe specifically in the e-commerce vertical, as that's where most of our listeners will be. Like what's the perfect scenario where you'd be able to get the best results?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably give me a store like Amazon. And I would be very happy to work on something like that because they have so many products. So I can literally take a general product store like that, and I could work on it for a month or two and increase traffic by 20-30% just by working on the technical SEO side of it. Especially if I know that they have like problems and issues that they need to fix. We could work on that for a month or two and we can guarantee increase in traffic. That's just like the first few months. That would be like a perfect scenario. Because again, when we talk about e-commerce, they have a lot of products. They make it easier for me to fix that. The no-go, well, I wouldn't really say no-go, but like in our case, for instance, in our agency, what we do is we always analyze the prospects' websites before even sitting down with them for a call. We don't actually just like hop on a sales call without even knowing what to talk about. We have to at least have some data about what website they have, what kind of like traffic they need, what kind of keywords they want to target. So what we do is we look at if it's feasible, if they're in a very competitive niche. So if they're in a super competitive niche and they don't have the budget, then that's something we say no to easily, because if they're not willing to spend the money on the optimization and resources for the SEO, for working on the technical side, optimization and the link building, then that means they're not really ready to compete in that market. Specifically, markets that there's a lot of markets out there. There's, for instance, travel market. The travel market in the US, for instance, is extremely competitive. And if somebody's offering you $2,000 a month without having any budget for like building links or link building, that's just going to take them, instead of taking them, like a year, it might take them 5 years with that kind of budget. That's something. This is just like a random comment, random example. But if I have somebody who's understands the importance of SEO for their business, and they're willing to invest in it, then yeah, those are the kind of like the clients that we like to work with, because they understand the value of SEO, specifically if it makes sense for their business. Otherwise, if they're not willing to invest, then and we've had like so many people who worked with us for 12 months, and they've only seen like a slight increase in traffic, and they decided that's not really worth it. Some people who worked with us for little less than like 3 months, and they saw double, triple, sometimes more traffic from Google or organic traffic in general, just because they were at the right time and the right market, and it's in a place that's not too competitive, something like that. But there's a lot of scenarios out there.
Yeah, maybe one question that could be interesting for listeners as well. What are the variables? Like you obviously mentioned link building and whatnot. I've dabbled a little bit in SEO. I'm nowhere near an expert. I just kind of know a little bit. Maybe a broader question. How do you rank? What are the variables? Like what are the levers you need to pull to rank on Google?
Okay, so if we're talking specifically about e-commerce store, let's say if you're in a competitive market, then you need a lot of things to rank. You need your technical SEO to be on top of the game. It has to be done well. So like the site structure and all that stuff, that's something that like any SEO agency or any SEO person knows how to work on. There's the doing keyword research, like finding out what the right keywords to optimize for, and another part is content optimization. So optimizing the words, the images, anything that's on a specific product page or even on a blog page to be able to rank. The other thing would be link building, and that's an ongoing effort. So as I said, if you're in a competitive market, you need to invest as much as possible in that, because there's already, the reason why we say competitive, because it means that there's somebody out there who's already been doing it for years, and they're way ahead of you. And in order for you to catch up, you might want to, you will have to have a lot of money to be able to spend in link building and obviously like foundational SEO work. So that's how you can rank. But if you're in a less competitive market, let's say you're in Germany and you're in a market that doesn't really have that much competition, you can rank basically in a few months, less than 6 months, just with a technical SEO that's done well and good content, and you can start getting decent amounts of traffic to your website, without that much effort. But you still have to keep working on it for a while in order not to lose like the traffic that you're getting. So that's like what it really requires for you to rank, because when you have a competitive, it's too hard, it's too expensive. If it's not too competitive, that's where you want to spend your time.
When you mention link building, is like in this case, like do you basically do paid promotions with other sites to have your site be featured, let's say in some sort of a list? Is that how you typically work?
So when we talk about link building, it's like a quantity versus quality game. Let's say if you get a few links from high profile websites like Amazon or the New York Times or whatever, or Forbes or entrepreneur.com, if you get those, they will help. But if you get a bunch of like with low quality links, even in the millions, they would not really help you rank, or rank a little bit higher. So it's a game of, there's a lot of strategies out there. There's a lot of email outreach to other webmasters, a lot of ways to kind of like genuinely get a link back to whatever it is that you have on your website, whether you create a specific resource and you reach out to other people to link to it, or what like the thing that's very well known, which is guest posting, which is like you write a post, an article, and you ask other people to host it while giving you a link. That's also something that's been overdone over the years, but now the game is like 80% of the game is paying for links. So even if you do guest posting, so you write an article, you want to post it, you email 100 or 200 people, the people who are going to get back to you are just going to ask for $50, $100, $200, depends on how well they see the authority of their site. But so like for us, when we work on it, it's a mix. It's a mix between doing like genuine strategies that they're going to build, but those are hard and they take a lot of time, and just forking out cash to get those links. So that's basically what it is.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a mix of cold emails, networking, everything together. Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that definitely changes my view on link building. I didn't know anything about it before, so that's interesting. Okay, then maybe to get back to SEO and e-com specifically, different kind of questions. So for e-commerce brands, at what point does it make sense for them to start thinking and focusing more on SEO? Is there like a certain revenue range? Let's say it's like an average e-commerce store, like a niche store with like 5 products. When would you recommend them maybe start looking for an agency or start doing some basics themselves?
The simplest answer is to just look at their competitors and look at their traffic sources. You can just open SimilarWeb and look at the competitors and see how much their competitors are getting in terms of organic traffic. That's how we, like for us, how we sell. Somebody comes to me and says, this competitor, this guy is selling, like he's getting 50% or 80% of their traffic from Google. How the hell are they doing it? And I'm spending $5,000 a day on ads, just as an example. But we get that a lot. So if your competitor is doing really well on the search engines, on Google, for instance, you might want to look into it. You might want to look into investing in it, because that's the easiest way to tell. Because if there's somebody's already has been in business for maybe a year or 2 or even 5 years or longer, and they're doing well on Google, then yeah, you might want to look into it. And like regardless of the amount of money that they're making, because again, anybody, as I said, with more than 50 or 100 pages on their website or number of products, they're definitely getting some organic traffic.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting, I know we had a private conversation. I'm not going to reveal the site you mentioned, but you said that you basically created a site where you were basically doing affiliate marketing, selling phones. And what was interesting to me, I always heard the thing that your site needed, I don't know, like you need to have at least like 6 years to build SEO. It takes a lot of time. It's very, very grueling, hard work. But like when we had a conversation, it was like, yeah, we just set up this affiliate site. It's selling phones, and now we're getting a check every month from the phones we've written articles about, or like I don't know exactly what you did because you didn't reveal that yet. But I remember you told that to me as well. And it was like a site where it's not like maybe an e-com store that's getting like 100,000 visitors a month. It was basically start from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, it was in a market, less competitive market. That's again, like talking about competitive versus non-competitive, because there's a lot of opportunities out there still to this day. Even in 2022, you can still find that's why I always talk about international SEO. Because when they talk about international SEO, that means Spain, Italy, Poland, Germany, whatever, any other country that doesn't have that much, people like focusing on SEO. That means there's opportunity there. And for that specific example, we started getting to 20,000, 40,000 visits a month in less than 3 months. And that's just by putting up, I think total it's 400 pages. And it's just, it looks like a product page, but it's basically just a review page of specific phones. And it was very easy to do. And you can replicate that in a lot of other markets. And there's I like the saying, there's money around for everybody. There's enough for everybody to go around. is wherever you are, except if you're in a market with like, I don't know, a country with maybe 100,000 people. But if you're in a country with 30 million, 20 million, and there's a lot of countries out there. And it's the beauty of it is there's so many tools. And that's something that we didn't talk about is tools. There are so many tools that help uncover all the data for you, like Ahrefs or SEMrush. And most people who are familiar with SEO, they would know these two tools. So they give you information about search volume, like how many people are searching for specific keyword, and how much, it even gives you an idea about how much traffic you can get from that specific keyword. So if it says that specific keyword can bring you, or let's say it says 1,000 people are searching for that specific keyword per month. But if you look on the side, inside of Ahrefs, because they keep adding these features, on the side, it would always say, you can get up to 5,000 visits just from this keyword. Because if you rank for this one, you are most definitely going to rank for all the related keywords to this one, because there's how Google works now. Yeah, you don't really rank for one. There's no such thing as ranking for one keyword. When I optimize a page, product page, concept page, I always rank for a minimum of 10, 20, 30, sometimes up to 1,000 keywords for just one page, depending on how much content is there on it and how many like people are like what kind of variations of that keyword are doing. But the opportunities is still there. Even in the US, we still take on clients from the US with the most competitive market in terms of search, and we're still doing okay. We're still doing well. Traffic is growing just because we follow this best practices, like how to do technical SEO right, how to do content optimization right, answering the users kind of like questions. If you provide them what they want, what they need, in a lot of cases, Google kind of, it looks at like the data, like bounce rate, time on site, stuff like that, and kind of rewards you over time by increasing your rankings.
Okay, I appreciate the very valuable insight there. I think that maybe we've come close to the end of the episode. I think we could kind of end it off like another value bomb. I think Rainus also wants to mention something, so maybe Rainus, you can go first, and then we'll end on a value bomb.
Yeah. So Hassan, you've been in the game for 3 decades. 2000s, 10s, now going into 3 decades, now going into the 2020s, into 2020s already. What are kind of like your 3 lessons or 3 things you learned to stay in the game for the long term, right? Some people go in the game for a year, they're out. How do you stay for years at a time? And like, obviously you've gone through different updates on SEO, Penguin, Panda, Hummingbird, everything. Like people, I know, like, I think it was Penguin. I don't remember which year, but everyone is talking about, SEO is going to die. It's going to be crap. It's not going to work. Same thing with iOS 14. You've gone through a lot of those apocalypses per se. What are your lessons to stay for long term?
Well, that's almost close to a question that I get asked a lot, which is, how do you stay motivated? Like, how do you keep going? Something like that. To me, it's like, I look at my paycheck, I look at my money every month, and I'm like, how can I stop? Right? I look at how much money I'm making. It's just again, simplified version of it all is, I'm making money. I made it in 2005, in 2006. I made it in 2010. I've been getting checks from AdSense and other affiliate, networks back in the day. Now I'm sending invoices and getting paid. Like, you also like to look at those Stripe, notifications. And you don't have to do SaaS or e-commerce to do that. You can have an agency and still get paid through Stripe. It's the result. I mean, not to make it look like all we care about is money, but it's the lifestyle that it affords you. Not having to, like me going from having jobs to not having to have jobs, to being able to work remotely from anywhere in the world, being able to afford luxuries that, a lot of people can't afford, being able to have a family. I have 2 daughters. I have my wife, like I live pretty comfortable life. And not having to worry about like the basic things, because we all grew up. I don't know. I can't say we all grew up poor, but I did grow up dirt poor. Not to say that it was terrible. It was fine. Like it was great childhood, great, memories and all. And since I'm a 90s kid, it was, there was like, things were kind of like scarce. we grew up watching the NBAs and like Michael Jordan and all that stuff, but it was always like a distant dream to us. And having gone to the US myself and be like living there for a while, you see things up close, and being able to kind of live life on your own terms is why we're doing this. And you can look at me now. I'm staying home. I have an office I'm paying for. I'm not at the office right now. It's like a few people go there. We have a team of right now we're at 25 people. We're going on 30 because we keep hiring almost on a monthly basis. And literally, we're running a business that's pretty big. And this is something you can't imagine doing in the 90s or even like 2005, 2006. You had to like sit in an office and work. So we are doing things a bit traditional. It's an agency, it's a marketing agency, but we're doing it differently. We're doing it like the new decade way, the new like millennium way. It's different, and being able to afford those freedoms and having options in life to live anywhere you want. Those are the things that kind of like keep us going. And whatever it is, it's the idea that I want to tell people is I want them to know that there's always opportunity wherever you go. I mean, I can wake up tomorrow with no money and I wouldn't be worried because I know that I'm going to get out of it, and I'm going to
make another affiliate store, rank it in 3 months.
Exactly. Oh, I could just call up somebody and be like, hey, I can do consulting for you, and I don't even have to put up any website or server. I can just talk on the phone and still get paid. So I mean, there's just so much that can be done nowadays in terms of opportunity. It's there's really no reason to be looking at it from like like a pessimistic or a skeptical kind of point of view. There's just opportunity everywhere, and that's the idea: to live life on your own terms and be free. There you go.
Internet money is the best kind of money. Like even like in this internet age, I don't think we appreciate the amount of information we have, the amount of opportunities we have. It definitely wasn't as easy or close to as easy like in 90s, 80s, and before that. So 100%. Yeah. Then maybe on this very positive note, we can head into the last kind of question, the last part of the episode. Here, I want you to imagine like a standard e-commerce store, let's say, again, a niche store, maybe 5 products. What are 2 things that they should not do, or maybe like a most of e-commerce store make as mistakes? So maybe 2 things they should implement as like 2 quick actionable tips they can do to improve their SEO. Like what comes to your mind first?
Well, the first thing I would be to just basically, whatever industry they're in, the first thing they should do is look into hiring a freelancer or somebody who knows what it is, just to work on the keywords or content for them, at least when they're starting out. I think that should be one of the first things that they do, is to look into optimizing the content that they want to create on their site.
So sorry to interrupt. Content specifically in terms of blogs or in terms of the product pages and optimizing the keywords in those?
They can do both, actually. They can do both. When I talk about content, I'm talking about what kind of keywords they want to target. And when you talk about keywords they want to target, they can do it on both product page and content page, which is blogs. The other thing would be running an audit after after they start. They can run an audit, and they can make it a habit. Like every 3 months, they can run an audit. And when I talk about audit, I'm talking about specific SEO audit, so that they can, in a lot of ways, doing just these 2 things, working on a specific SEO audit and fixing the issues, and then working on a content strategy, will actually get them some decent results. So that's the 2 things that they can work on just from the get-go, without having to spend that much money, because there's so many things that and I can obviously I can just recommend the Upwork. Looking for like highly rated people on Upwork. They can because they can interview a few people, see if they're good at what they do. But again, these are like the bare minimum things that you can do on just to at least to get like a site that's really done well. And they can do it just for the first few months, and then just forget about it for for the next 6 months, next 9 months, and then go back and check if they're getting any organic traffic. And that would be a good signal if they need to invest more into it and like kind of grow it a little bit more.
All right, amazing, very simple, straightforward, malleable. So appreciate that. Right now, I think we have come to the last part, Hassan, where you can plug yourself, plug your agency. So where can people find you? Where can people reach out to your agency and work with you?
Great. Well, the thing is, I'm available everywhere. So you can just look me up by name, Hassan Aanbar, with 2 A's. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram if they're on that too. I'm everywhere except TikTok. I still don't know how to dance. The name of the agency is Bright Leads Media, and they can just look that up on Google, and it'll come up. Usually, like, offer free consultations to people. Again, there's no pressure, there's no sales. It's just like, can we help you? Can we not help you? That's the question that I usually try to answer people. But yeah, otherwise, I'm available for questions and on all pretty much social media platforms.
It will be ironic if someone searches up Bright Leads Media and they don't find you on Google.
No. Well, actually, here's what happened. Here's the funny part. Yesterday, our domain name expired, and I did not know. And yeah, like, I didn't receive any, because I have Namecheap, and I didn't have any reminders. I usually get 6 or 7 reminders, at least like a month before. So I didn't see any of that. So yesterday, our email stopped working. It's like 22 people, their emails stopped like going out. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So it took me like a few hours. Went to Google Workspace, bothered them. I was like, it's not working. And I bothered them on Twitter as well. And then I was like, So I just went to Bright Leads Media, and it was out. But thankfully, it was out for only like less than 24 hours. So I kind of bought like 5 years worth of years for that domain. So we wouldn't have that issue. But again, stupid things happen to people, even if they've been in the business for so long.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. Like, just a little touch up domains themselves. Like, I think I actually had a buddy of mine, and what he was doing, there's a special tool which looks at recently expired domains, and he tries to snatch them up. So you might have been at someone might be holding your domain hostage. Hadn't you been more?
Yeah. It happened to one domain from ours, but we were actually kind of neglecting it on purpose. So, but somebody did buy it, like, I think a few days after it expired. But mine, less than 24 hours, so it was fine. I was worried about that. It came to mind. I was like, if somebody had done that, it would have been a very expensive mistake.
You live, you learn. Gotta stay on top of the domains. But all right, if you need help with SEO, look up Bright Leads Media or Hassan. And Hassan, thank you for the episode. It was wonderful having you here. And see ya. Thank you.
If you thought this episode was valuable, share it with a friend that may find this useful, and leave a 5-star review so you can reach more influential people and bring the lessons back to you. See you in the next episode.